Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, we're going to do 18 again because we didn't really give it a full treatment. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Thank you, Chaitanya Lila. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
On this 26th day of August 2026 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are reading in chapter 5 entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And we're going to redo text 18 because I don't think I did it justice last night. Text 18, the top of page 246. Okay. Vidya. You can go, Chaitanya Lila. Well, you can.
Okay. Vidya.
Yeah, just pretend you're sitting here. Vinaya.
Vinaya.
Sampane.
Sampane.
Brahmane.
Brahmane.
Gavi.
Gavi.
Hastini.
Hastini.
Shuni.
Shuni.
Chaiva.
Chaiva.
Shapake.
Shapake.
Cha.
Cha.
Panditaha.
Panditaha.
Samadarshinaha.
Samadarshanaha.
Okay. So I think if you alone respond, then the delay won't be so bad. So let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Let's try that again. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Brahmane Gavihastani.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Pandita Samadarshanaha.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Brahmane Gavihastani.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Pandita Samadarshanaha.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Brahmane Gavihastani.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Pandita Samadarshanaha.
Go ahead, Chaitanya.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Brahmane Gavihastani.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Pandita Samadarshanaha.
Pandita Samadarshanaha. Anyone else on the Zoom, on the internet with you?
Yes, Prem Gopal and Vanamali Priya.
Okay. Vanamali, you're on.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha.
Shunichaiva Shrapakecha.
Pandita Samadarshina.
Pandita Samadarshinaha. Prema.
Vidya Vinaya Sampane
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Brahmane Gavihastini
Brahmane Gabihastini
Shuni Chaiva Shvapakacha
Shunichaiva Sapakecha
Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Pandita Samadarshinaha. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vidya Vinayo Shampanne
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Brahmane Gabihastini
Brahmane Gabihastini
Shuni Chaiva Shapakecha
Shunichaiva Sapakecha
Pandita Shamadarshina.
Pandita Samadarshinaha. Is Ami there too?
Yes.
Yeah, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Brahmane Gabihastini
Brahmane Gabihastini
Sunichaiva Swapakecha
Shunichaiva Sapakecha
Pandita Samadarshina.
Pandita Samadarshinaha. I think I'll start giving my class from my apartment. I'll just do it through Zoom. There's only one other person here in the room with me. It's Sureshwar Babu. But
Maybe we'll be there next day. No, we'll be always there. Just missed one day.
yeah, okay. All right, word by word. Vidya, with education. Vinaya, and gentleness. Sampanne, fully equipped. Brahmane, in the Brahman. Gabi, in the cow. Hastini, in the elephant. Shuni, in the dog. Cha, and Eva, certainly. Shapake, in the dog eater. Yeah, the outcast. Cha, respectively. Panditaha, those who are wise. Samadarshinaha, who see with equal vision. Translation, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, or outcast. Purport. A Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The Brahman and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as the Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as the Paramatma regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as the Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahman, although the body of a Brahman and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna-conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is a famous verse describing the way in which a truly humble sage, someone who has met some of the qualifications of the previous verses, such as 17, when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So the intelligence. Intelligence is a key element that we have, part of our personality. As we know, it's one of the 8 material elements that make up the body. Bhuma, apa, onano, vayu, kang, manu, buddhire, vacha, ahankare, tiyame, binna, pakdarashita. Within the subtle body of a living being, we have the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So the human body, the human being is enjoined and meant to, and has a great opportunity to employ that intelligence in understanding who he is, what is his relationship with the Supreme Intelligent Person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how he can act in this world in order to achieve the best destination, which is returning home back to Godhead. So, but in this world, such a realized soul who has become fully Krishna conscious through working for Krishna, remembering Krishna, and refraining from doing those things which block our vision and block our understanding of God. Such a person will live in this world in a different way and see himself and see everything and every living being in relationship to the Supreme Living Being. The simple understanding that God is present in the heart of every conscious living being, including from the Brahman down to the outcast human being, and also in the non-human beings. We're surrounded by so many living beings here. We have the foliage. Each blade of grass is another living being. These trees standing here, sentinels, since I've been here for 37 years, they're still standing up. So they're alive, and but their consciousness is very, very rudimentary. But still, in one sense, they're equal to ourselves and to any other living being, because they are soul, and because of something they did in a previous life, they've been given these bodies. But the fortunate trees out here, sometimes they hear kirtan, we go out there, and so they're being blessed. So this is, this is how you see samadarshana, and how you see yourself in relation to other beings in this world determines how you relate to them, how you act. A real pure devotee is always seeing the world in this way, and especially regards human beings, he tries to give them Krishna consciousness as far as possible. This again, Prahlad Maharaj is the ideal example for this. He's the same famous verses I was quoting last night, and always it said, Prayena Deva Munayo Sava Mukti Kama. For the most part, those who are munis, are wise in this world, they understand that they're Brahman, and so they want to get mukti, liberation from birth and death and old age and disease, and this is a valid aspiration for the conditioned soul. But it's not perfection, it's simply impersonal liberation. He says, Payana Deva Muniyo Swava Mukti Kama. For the most part, the munis who are aware of the soul's eternal life and Brahman relationship, they want to be liberated. And to that end, Swava Mukti Kama, it's a kind of lust, it's a kind of material desire, simply to be liberated on your own. In a sense, every one of our efforts to become safe in this world, to avoid danger, is part of this Mukti Kama, is part of this desire to be free from the threefold miseries and birth, old age, disease, and death. So in and of itself, that's not really a spiritual desire. And as explained, we've just been reading in the morning classes the early part of the 10th canto, which includes the prayers of the demigods, the most famous of which is Prayena Deva Munayo Swava Mukti Kama Maunam Charanti Vijanena Parartanishta. No, that's not the one I'm thinking of. Yen ye adabindakshiva mukta maninas tvayasta bhavad abhishuddha buddhaya aruha kuchena param padam tata patantyedo anadrita yushmarangriya. In this verse, the demigods are explaining to Krishna that besides the devotees, there are others who think themselves liberated, O lotus-eyed Lord. Vimukta maninas, in their minds they're liberated. but they're not really liberated. Because they're again the intelligence, because their intelligence is not really purified. They're absorbed in the ego of, I want to be liberated, so I will be free from all suffering. This is not a devotional attitude. So what happens is that the very few of them, because to try to control the senses and the mind and to detach oneself from mind without Krishna consciousness, without the holy name, without the association, without prasadam, is a very difficult job. But a few can do it, going out alone and meditating and performing severe austerities. Ruha, they rise. Kutraina, by severe austerities and penances for many, many years. Parampadam, a few of them rise up to the Parampadam, means the transcendental plane of Brahman realization. And in that condition, they feel liberated because they have no more material body. They're simply conscious that they're conscious, But there's no Krishna, there's no Bhakti, there's nothing. Simply the self-understanding. And because intrinsically we are living beings, we are fully developed with body, mind, intelligence, activities, name, qualities, all these things that Krishna possesses. And we also possess our spiritual variety of those. So unless that's manifested, just being liberated, it becomes impossible to sustain. And so therefore he says, patantyadho, they fall down again onto this material plane. Because anadrita yushmadanga, they have no taste or their desire to worship your lotus feet. So, but he's speaking here, but when humble sages, he's talking about devotees who have become purified, overcome selfishness, and some of the other qualities, he says. Jnanere tudara jnanam, those whose knowledge has destroyed their ignorance. One is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed. This knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So that knowledge is given from within the heart when one approaches the Lord in the proper way through the instructions of Shastra, Guru, and Sadhu. And you feel more and more enlivened and enlightened. And you see yourself in relation to this world and in relation to other living entities in the way described here. You understand this is also a soul? I remember we had a cat out here. You've been here so long, maybe you remember. You remember the cat? What was the name? I think we named him Narada Muni or something. But yeah, that cat was addicted to kheer, specifically kheer. And so I would, the cat would be, breakfast time, prasad, ready, So I would put a little kheer on a leaf and put it down, and he would go at it. And he went on for some time. And I'm not going to speculate the next body he got, but I guess it wasn't a cat body. Maybe a cat in the spiritual world or something. So, those who are pandita, truly pandita, one who is wise. Now you remember the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna begin with Lord Krishna telling Arjuna, you're speaking so-called learned words, but you're not really a pandit. Ashochan abashochastram pragyavaram shabasade gatasuna nanu shoshanti pandita. One who are truly wise do not lament for the living or the dead, you see, knowing well that the soul is eternal. So you're speaking these so-called learned words, but you're really a fool because you're completely on the bodily concept. So that's the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. And then, Dehi nosmin yata dehe matar sparshas konteya. We won't get into that right now. So, but this is someone who's really realized this at every moment and sees the world. Of course, there's so many inanimate things in the world, but where there's animation, there's a soul present, and a real devotee will try to maybe give the dog a little prasadam, or at least let him hear Hare Krishna. So there's some. He's on his way. He has that. All right, let's proceed. So, okay. Ihai vatar jitak sargo yesham samye stitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stitaha. Those whose minds are established in equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport. Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is the sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to taking birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual world after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. So this having no attraction or hatred, raga dvesha vimuktaisthu vishayanindriyashchana atmavashe vidhayatma prasadam adhigacchati. That's in the, I think, second chapter. So that raga and dvesha, we should always remember that this abhorrence is the flip side of raga, of attraction. And both of those, that's the material duality. That's that famous duality that we need to overcome. Krishna says, 7th chapter, who's qualified to progress in devotional service? Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvanva mohane mukta bhajante mam dridavata. Tesham antakatam papam, those whose sin has ended, and also I think it sometimes means who are free of sinful reactions. I think sometimes it's explained that way. Jananam punyakarmanam. And those persons, jananam, who are simply perform pious activities. In this case, it means devotional activities. Te dvanva moha nirmukta. They're free of the dualities. Oh, this is pleasing, this is displeasing to myself. You're not living on the basis of material attraction and repulsion. Dvanva moha, this is bewildering. So, manva moha nirmukta, bhajante mam judavata. They can worship me with a firm vow. You see. You can't be on this duality platform. This is pleasing to my senses. This isn't. Let me enjoy that. No, I don't want to enjoy that. And at the same time worship Krishna with firm determination. You may do it for a little bit, but then you'll fall away. Because you say, with a very strong vow. So coming to that point of nishta, I think we discussed this yesterday, that's there in the famous verses from Faith to Love, Adar Shadata Taksaro Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Tato Anarta Nibisatato, Nishta, Ruchistata. It means firm conviction, free of anartas, anarta nivritti, a very important practice, stage in one's devotional development. And the more that you become purified, purify the self through this practice of devotional service, the more your faith increases until it becomes nishta, and it means irrevocable devotional service. Remember, we use that word, because that same word naistiki is used in the Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, 1st canto, where he says, tadara dastamabhava kamadori cheta erta inavidam stitam sattve prasiditi. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogavadaha bhagavad tattva mukta sangha sajayate. So that nishta platform is spoken of in the Srinvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Vidin Yabadani Vidinoti Surit Satam. I know the verse, the Naishtiki, the one where we say that is it becomes fixed in irrevocable. Everyone says irrevocable. It's irrevocable devotional service. Okay, but that we say it every day. Nashta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. That's the verse. We say it every morning. We give Bhagavatam class. Nashta prayeshu. Prabhupada makes the point. Not all of the abhadras are not completely destroyed, but largely destroyed. Nashta prayeshu. Prayeshu means almost. Abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. By regularly and always, really ultimately, serving the book Bhagavatam and the person Bhagavatam. You see. Nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke. Unto Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Lord is glorified in the best shlokas. Bhakti, the devotional service, bhavati naishtiki, becomes fixed, irrevocable. So we want to come to that point of irrevocable devotional service. Okay, so did we do 19? Yeah, and equanimity. That equanimity comes up right at the beginning with the dhira. Even the verse, dehi no sminyata dehi komaram yovanang jadatata dehanara prabdi dhiras tattanamuyati. Because he's urging Arjun to be equipoised, even in the process of where he's killing his beloved Bhishma and beloved Dronacharya. Because understanding fully by the knowledge that they don't really die. They're just going to go to a better life, and Bhishma is going back home, back to Godhead. And Dronacharya also is killed on the battlefield. So he can feel at peace in contributing to their changing body. Nobody dies. Nobody's going to die. Okay. Na parishe priyam prapya nodvijait prapya chapriyam sthita buddhira sammudho brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Brahmavid, one who knows the Supreme perfectly. Okay. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is always situated in transcendence. Purport. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of God. This is a famous Angsha, part and parcel. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. This steadfastness of mind is called sthira buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the Absolute Truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So this is the general principle is parishyat priyam prapya. By getting something pleasing, one becomes overjoyed, rejoices, and udvijait, he laments, prapya apriyam, that's which is not there, it's having something miserable forced upon you, then that you become udvijay, disturbed, agitated. Sthira buddhi, having a steady intelligence in both situations. Asamudo, not bewildered in any regard. Then such a person is brahmavid, brahmanistita, is situated in transcendence. Okay, very instructive. Now, these are the two verses, these favorite verses from the fifth chapter. So we should be able to deal with both of them tonight. How to achieve unbroken happiness. Bhaya sparshe swasaktatma vindityatmane yat sukham sabbrahma yoga yuktatma sukhamakshayamashnute. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. Atmani yat sukham. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Purport. Sri Yamunacharya, a great devotee in Krishna consciousness, said, now this is his famous verse, I think it's quoted twice in these purports. Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padarabinde navanamana sadhaman yudyatam rantumasid tadavadi batanari sanghamesma yamane bhavati mukapakaru sushtu nishtivanangcha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Close quote, close quote. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and the materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test of spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. So this idea of being able to enjoy constantly by remembering Krishna, glorifying Krishna, serving Krishna, and giving Krishna to others, this is a very important concept, because that pleasure that comes from connecting with Krishna negates the desire for the lower pleasure of the senses. And that sets up our favorite verse here, the next verse. These two verses go together. Yehi sangsparjaja boga dukkha yonaya evate adyandabanta konteya nateshu ramate buddha. Yeah, an intelligent person does not take part in pleasures which are due to contact of the senses with the material sense objects. O son of Kunti, such pleasures are the sources of all misery and have a beginning and an end. And so the wise man does not delight in them. Purport: material sense pleasures are due to the contact of the material senses with the sense objects, which are all temporary because the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. Knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasures, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasures? In the Padma Purana it is said, Ramante yogano anante satyanande chidatmani iti ramapadena so padam brahma vidiyate. So this is the origin of the name Rama. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the Absolute Truth, and therefore the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, is also known as Rama. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.1, it is said, Nayam deho deha bhajang niloke Karshtam kama narate vidbhajamhe tapo divyam puttakayena sattvam shudye jasma brahma saukyam tanantam. So this is Lord Rishabhdev speaking to his sons, 100 sons. My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasures while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available to the stool eaters, the hogs. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified. And as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Therefore, close quote, therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. So this is such an important, these two verses actually go together very nicely. Baya sparseshu asaktatma, not attracted to the external pleasures due to touching things with your senses. Asaktatma. Because vindatyatmana yatsukam, he's enjoying the pleasure within. Krishna is within everyone's heart, right? He's there as a super soul, but he'll also manifest there in his original form. And those who are able to contact Krishna and meditate on him and serve him, even just sitting alone, thinking of him, they can enjoy moment-to-moment pleasure. There's a transcendental pleasure. It's not limited by the senses because it's not sense pleasure, you see. So that's the idea, and we have so many examples of that in our line. Lord Chaitanya's 12 years in Puri, he was always enjoying the transcendental pleasure, hearing Ramananda Roy, hearing Swarup Damodar chant the different pastimes of the Lord, and of course chanting the holy name. So that's the kind of pleasure we can aspire for. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadikatopi labbhite tatta laulim abhimulyam ekalam janma koti sukadayana labbhite. So Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati means the mind absorbed in bhakti rasa, which Prabhupada called Krishna consciousness. That's where the phrase comes from. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati, the mind, mati, absorbed, bhavita, in Krishna bhakti rasa. Kriyatam yadikutopi labhyate, you should buy it. It sprouts. You can find it there. Krishna, okay? We'll go over there later. No, you're not going to find it in sprouts. So, but kriyatam means he's giving a little analogy here. You should try to purchase it. But how do you? What's the price? Yadi kutopi labhyate. Your price? Your greed for it. Tatta lalnimapi mulyamekalam janmakoti sukutayana. You won't get it by performing thousands of births worth of pious activity. That's for material things. So, how to acquire that greed? How to acquire that desire for transcendence, for Krishna? That comes from association. Association, picking up on the mood and the words and the knowledge of devotees, great devotees, especially if one can get the association of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, which he has made universally available through his books and his, recorded lectures. If you can learn English, English, you can be so that. Most important way, the most important kind of association is hearing. And Prabhupada left so many wonderful recordings, beginning with Introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. It's published as a wonderful book, but they can also hear him speak it. It's complete science of bhakti there. So this great verse, Yadavadi Mama Chetak. So this is the story of Yamunacharya. And I mentioned this because his life is known, and it described he was a very wonderful student in the Gurukul, very advanced devotee, and very knowledgeable. So somehow or other he was attracted to debate the court pundit. I didn't forget the king. Because he was, very brilliant. He knew all the shastras backwards and forwards and everything. So he went to the palace of the king, and he was only, I think, 11 years old or something. And he said, I would like to debate the court pundit. And so there was probably laughter there. The king, who is this little kid? How can he do with this court pundit? He's already defeated so many adult pundits, So he said, okay, you can do that. And if you're able to defeat him, I'll give you half the kingdom. Okay. So I really have to research this and find out the wonderful, puzzling questions that he posed to the pundit. But anyway, he couldn't answer any of them. He was dumbstruck, and therefore he won the debate. Now he's suddenly a young kid with half a kingdom. So he took the kingdom, and gradually, so over I don't know how many years he was there, but he was, he had a harem like any king, enjoying the sex life. So at a certain point, one of his old friends from the ashram, heard about it, so he went to visit him. And he suggested to Yamunacharya, let's take a walk, just you and me. We'll walk amongst the gardens. You have these beautiful gardens. So, okay, sure, let's go. And as they're walking, this old friend of his started chanting some real nectar shlokas that they remembered, from the Barha Piram Natavadavapu Karnayo Karnikaram Bimbran Vasa Karnika Kapisham Vajayandin Chamalam Randran Veno Hadada Sudaya Puriyan Gopa Vrindaya Vrindaranyam Sabadanamanam Pravishan Gita Kirti. This is like an introductory verse to the Venu Gita. With lovely peacock plume upon his head, and fragrant flower placed upon each ear, he enters Burgess Woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows, and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day, with cowherd friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way with fine impressions of his lotus feet. So when Yamunacharya was reminded of this verse and other verses, similar verses, he suddenly awakened to his old, his old self. And he was experiencing this great pleasure and flood of remembrance. And so he just kept walking. He walked right out of that kingdom. And he became the great Yamunacharya, So that pleasure is available to all of us. What was the we have the song of the six Goswamis, Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandala patishrening sadat tuchavat. Bhutva dina ganeshako kadunaya kopina kantashito. Gopi bhavara samartabda lahali kalola magno mahur. Vande rupa sanatano raguya goshi jiva gopalago. Very instructive verse. Chakva turnam, they gave up, not after considering for some time, consulting. No. Immediately. Turna means at once. The six Goswamis, especially, Raghunath Das and Rupa and Sanatan, they gave up tremendous wealth and aristocracy in the case of Rupa and Sanatan. But they just gave it up like that. Chakva Turnam Ashesham Manalabades, endless circles of aristocratic associates, relatives, wealth, all of that. Ashesham Manalabades Shrening Sadat Tuchavat. They gave it up as completely insignificant, And what did they do? Buddha Dina Ganeshako, Buddha Dina Ganeshako, Karunaya Kopina Kandashako, out of mercy to help the people in general, and under the instruction of Lord Chaitanya, of course, they went to Vrindavan and built temples, wrote things, excavated the place of pastimes. They turned Vrindavan into a place of pilgrimage. Buddha Dina, for the poor souls, the poor in spiritual life, they helped them whoever they could, instructing them and giving them good example. Out of mercy, karunaya, and simply kopina kandashito, from having wonderful, expensive garments and moving amongst the aristocracy, they're walking around in Vrindavan without even a home, living under a different tree every night, wearing just kopins, But here's the clincher. Gopi bhavada samritabda lahari kalola magno mahur. Again and again they're diving and immersing themselves into the highest rasa, the gopis' feelings toward Krishna. Gopi bhava, rasamrita, the nectarian rasa of the gopi bhava. One day Rupa Sanatana Goshi Jiva, I go off in my humble basin of the six Goswamis. So this is the opportunity we also have. We can systematically cultivate the taste for hearing about Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. We have full opportunity. We have the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the Hare Krishna mantra, we have the deities, so many things. We have the great opportunity given by our all-merciful Param Guru, in your case, my Guru, Srila Prabhupada. So, and then just imagine coming to the point where you can just sit quietly, or even just murmuring to yourself and remembering, articulating Krishna's name and his qualities and his form. And that's why I'm still here. I got involved with these wonderful shlokas, reading the Anjalila, beginning the Anjalila first, verses about the Lord Chaitanya. Throughout the Bhagavad CC, this is one of the first ones I memorized. Smita loka shoka mahadachita katam yasya padito. Girang tu prarambaka kushula pataling pallavayati. Padalambaka kangva panayati nahi premanabaham. Sadevas chaitanya kachadadadadana kupayatu. Smita loka shoka, it's about Lord Chaitanya. He's glancing at us with his smiling face. Smita loka shokam. And by doing that, hadadija katam yasabadido, he's removing whoever receives that glance, and is all of their lamentation and agony of this material is finished. Hadati takes away. Smita loka shokam hadajita katam yasabadido. Shokam is anxiety, is all we lead. Just by getting that merciful sidelong glance, which you can get from the deities here. Just meditate on the faces of Lord Chaitanya. Of course, first lotus feet, looking, and Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. This was their business, going throughout the Sankirtan movement and seeing everybody, giving them that merciful glance, and then bringing them into the kirtan. So Smita Laksha, how did you get on to his words? Praramba kushala pataling pallavayati, cause the creeper of devotion, the flower of devotion to sprout in your heart, just by hearing his words. Girang tu praramba kushala pataling pallavayati. Padalamba kangva panayati nahi prem vinabaham. How could it be possible that not by taking shelter of his lotus feet that you wouldn't attain the highest levels of prema bhakti? When will Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu be merciful upon us? This is part of an ashtaka. So these are the great treasures we've been given. We simply have to, I could show you how to chant them, or you could read them to yourself. But to become absorbed in that and to utter those and really have faith in these transcendental vibrations, beginning with the Supreme Maha Mantra, this is our method, this is our blessing, that we can become purified and become more and more able to taste at every moment this Brahma Sukha by being linked with the Supreme Brahman. Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, always linking the soul to the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, Param Brahma, through the process of yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. You can enjoy unbreakable happiness. Why not? Okay, I think I read this one too. Yeah, in text 22, they go together. Sangsparshita Bhoga, Dukkha Yona Yevate. I mean, that itself is such a revolutionary concept, that the process of sense gratification is inevitably, this is always, not sometimes, the source of all misery. Dukkha Yona Yevate. Adya, and besides being miserable, it has a beginning and an end. So in other words, it's as opposed to Sukham Akshayam Ashraya. Akshaya means it's not broken. This sense gratification is always broken by time. So, without an understanding it's the source of all misery. How is the source of all misery? Well, I pointed this out in the last few classes. One, by overindulgence. It's obviously a source of misery. You had your 31st clubjaman, and it's just one too many. And so all of that wonderful pleasure is now accompanied by a lot of suffering. But in addition to that, it plants the seed in your heart to enjoy it again. And those seeds become very much impacted if you're just doing that. And so that's going to bring you back to another material body, and especially if you do it and perform sin, then you'll be suffering in your next life, like anything in hell. So therefore, those who are wise, the Buddha, those at the end, they don't take part in that, understanding that the beginning and end is the source of all misery. And the previous verse, well, what kind of pleasure do they? Oh, by Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, by linking oneself to the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, through the process of bhakti. That's the alternative. All right, so it's getting a little late. And then Prabhupada properly quotes this. Nayam deho deha bhajandaloke. I put it into a poem, which is, it kind of, I don't know, it bowdlerized a little bit. It's not exactly the words, but it's inspired by this verse. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through Bhakti Yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. That is the choice that we have been given. Fortunate. Most people out there, they don't have a choice. The choice is enjoy this or enjoy that. Enjoy this or enjoy that. Or suffer in this way, or take a pill, I won't suffer so much. It's a tragic waste of human life. And the great devotees, or even just the sincere devotees, they're feeling the great benefit of Krishna consciousness, so they feel they must give it to others. Because of the previous verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane, he sees all living beings as vessels of God and eligible for devotional service. The only ones who are ineligible are those outright demons, which he avoids, But the Madhyama Bhakta, which we're meant to come to that platform, relates to 4 different categories of beings in a different way. For the Supreme Lord, of course, he tries to cultivate love, prema. And those who are related to him, devotees, adineshu, he cultivates friendship, association. Then there's the bala, the innocent, those who aren't, anti-Krishna consciousness, they just don't know, and they may be receptive. So these are called people who might take a book. So for those, he shows mercy by trying to give them Krishna in any way he can. And for the out-and-out atheists and demons, you try to avoid them. Don't get into a constant battle, and this and that. Especially if you're on book distribution. So that's an evidence. Someone who's living his life with that mentality is evidence that he himself, he or she, he himself or she herself are experiencing that pleasure within, and the transformation of life that is so valuable. And they want to give that to others because they regard everyone as brother and sister ultimately. We're all children of God. So those who can be are receptive. Those who are, inimical, you avoid because you could be helping someone who is receptive. Okay, so it's time to, I'll give you a real small poem. Since pleasure is a dream, Krishna is supreme. The aim is prem, and the way is the name. Just remember that. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. And thank you for listening. Those who are near and remote. Okay, so we have 3 minutes or so. Okay, start with 23 on Monday. Hare Krishna. Oh. Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyamvari Ashtachadi Satarine Saraswati Devi Pacharine Shunyamvari Ashtachadi Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Govinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jai Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nitya Gaura Hare Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitya Gaura Hari Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanandi Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashnotartha Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Go ahead, do that. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. There's one bulb that's blown out in there. It'd be good if you could fix it before tomorrow. If you look at the bulb in that chandelier, you look at them all, you see that one of them is blown out. One of them is out. One of them is not lit. One of the bulbs in that thing. It should be fixed before tomorrow. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Lara lara dayine Hiranyakashipo vakshaha Shidatankanakanaya Hito nisringa parato nisringo Nisringa parato nisringo Yato yamitato nisringa Yato yamitato nisringa Bahir nisringo Hridaye nisringo Hridaye nisringo Nrsimhamadin Sharanam Prapaje Samadin Sharanam Prapaje Tavakara Kamala Nakam Adbhuta Shringa Tadita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Abhuta Shringa Gita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanandi Hari Om. Did you get the bag?
Pardon?
You got the blue bag?
Well, apparently Ron threw the blue bag out, but in it was my charger that he didn't know whose it was. So when I described it to him, he had saved it, so I got my charger. That was the main. He said there's just a water bottle.
Yeah.
And then, so I wasn't sure. We also mentioned the charger, and it's really nice, small charger that will charge a phone 3 different times. It's called a Halo. It's this brand, and it's yeah, they're not as expensive. I mean, they're like $80 to $100, believe it or not. But it's because it's got a real heavy battery that will recharge. So I told Ron if I can find them again. I don't want to.
So this is charged up. So this
Yeah,
can
so-
carry.
Yeah, so this I just charged a phone and see it'll show you what percent is left. So with one phone,
Okay.
it only used a third. And then and during the day, if you're using your phone, it can drain. Yeah, so for travel it's great, and it is approved for travel. It comes with a little card averages your voice. Yeah, but that's heavier, this big. And then I found these little ones. So I've actually brought them for a few friends just because. So if I find some, I'll get a couple, one for you and one for Ron. They're very useful. So I know where I got them. I'll see if I can, if they still have them in stock. Okay, yeah.
There he is. Doctor. That's it. Vivek. Yes, so with your big brain, I think you should learn some mental skills.
Yes.
Okay.
No, of course. Like when
Yeah, I'm not just talking about right now. I mean, I could, show you how to. It's easy to learn the meter, how to figure out the meter. And anywhere you are, you can chant it for yourself or for others. You see, people will start being one to be with you. All right, let's see if I can help.
I always like want with alliteration.
Alliteration.
Yes.
Moderation, Madhuri,